Hello everybody and welcome to today's Sunday sermon, which is the 21st week in Ordinary Time. Jesus encourages us today to enter through the narrow gate. Entry to the kingdom can never be automatic, but is the result and the reward of a struggle. Keep on striving to enter, Jesus said. The word for striving is the word which from the English word agony is derived. The struggle to enter in can be so intense that it can be described as an agony of the soul and spirit. The spirit forces us to go against ourselves or our lesser nature. The ultimate victory is when one decides to totally deny oneself for the sake of a higher goal. For example, the martyrs. They gave their life for the sake of Jesus Christ and His gospel. Like training for a sport, hardship is experienced and sometimes we feel like giving up. But when we don't, and we continue to forge ahead, we find great joy and even liberation. These are examples of the Spirit in our lives and how much we achieve when we strive for the final prize. For Christians, it is eternal reward, which can be experienced even here on earth and definitely in the life hereafter. The Spirit teaches us. Ever notice that when you have a pressing issue and you are not able to make a decision, the best thing to do is wait and don't make a harsh or rash decision. Even sleep on the issue and you will find that after some time the way to act becomes very clear to you. The Spirit is a reality. There is a great Spirit present in our day. So we are invited today to enter into a relationship with Jesus. A relationship with Him of intimacy and security, of being totally known and totally accepted. But unlike the unmerciful dictator, Jesus uses His authority not to wield us into submission, but rather to give us greater freedom. Contrary to most concepts of power, Jesus wielded His power through complete humility, thus inviting us into intimate fellowship with Him. It is a relationship where we can be loved completely, challenged to grow in the faith, and transformed into the exact person that we were created to be. The disciples who turned away from Jesus because He spoke about He being the bread come down from heaven. Why didn't Jesus use simpler words to explain His point? But He used the metaphor, which in a way is an easier way to explain the deep concept. The chances are that the people who listened to Him did know what He meant, but chose to ignore it and went their own separate ways. Maybe we do the same when we don't choose the more spiritual ways of life. When we just let ourselves slide into a less demanding way of living our lives. It can be the lazy way of living that we choose, but also we can choose the easier ways, such as not fighting for justice when we know that an injustice is being done to someone or to some people or in any other way. All that is necessary for evil to exist is for good people to do nothing, says Edmund Burke. When we take the easier way as against the hard way. There are times when we have to be guided by our principles. Principles that tell us right from wrong. In a dictatorship, multitudes of people are led by a few people, or maybe ultimately one person. In war-torn countries, the principle that states everyone deserves to live a wholesome life, but is forgotten because one person demands that certain people should live and others should not. And that is for everyone who is in opposition to the leader. It can be very difficult to stand up against such a person as an individual, because that individual has power to kill you and has a system in place of peoples who blindly follow that person in carrying out his or her wishes. Anyone who dares to stand out from the crowd and challenge that leader will probably die. Here is where the Spirit is leading us, but it's too hard to follow. O Lord, deliver us from such situations. Maybe this was where the disciples left Jesus and went back to their complacent lives and blindly following another path that was not given to lead them to a new life that Jesus promised, if only they were prepared to stand out and be counted as Jesus' followers. We must examine ourselves and be aware of our weaknesses in seeking the higher goals in life. It may mean speaking out against injustices in a world that doesn't care about our climate and the declining trends towards self-destruction of the systems that maintain our beautiful earth. Maybe the poor are being forgotten in so many policies of our governments. The marginalized, the homeless, and the refugees, and so on. Are we just reading the Bible and praying and not seeing the plight of the less fortunate in our midst? Are we aware of the hypocrisy that is in us and deliberately choosing to ignore these issues? If we are ignoring, then we are no different from those who left the discipleship of Jesus. But at least be aware that we are hypocrites and in desperate need of redemption. Today let us see ourselves for what we are and pray for guidance and courage to be true disciples of Jesus. And Pope Francis said in 2015, and I quote, "The real protagonist, in other words, the real actor, is actually the Holy Spirit, because He is the only one capable of giving us this grace of courage to proclaim Jesus Christ." End of quote. And this was reported on L'Osservatore Romano Weekly in English, the 16th and 17th of April 2015. In Acts of the Apostles, chapter 4, verses 23 to 31, we read, and I quote, "Even were it right to obey you rather than God, we shall obey God." End of quote. Fix your attention then on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what He wants from you and quickly respond to it. The narrow gate. May God help us to enter by the narrow gate. May God bless you. Have a beautiful Sunday and a grace-filled week ahead.